Mike Sposito was raised in Gilroy, California, the garlic capital, or Steinbeck country as he calls it. From early on, he was surrounded by horses. They were a key part of his life from the beginning. Growing up in a family of horsemen, Mike would eventually become one himself. A stock horse competitor and trainer throughout his teens and early 20s, horses were and are Mike's passion. But as he says, sometimes your passions can break your heart. Eventually stepping away from the world he'd become so familiar with, so skilled in, Mike did what any ex-horseman would do. He moved to the city and became a barber. The hair grooming trade brought Mike to San Francisco, then Italy, eventually landing him in New York City and Brooklyn, where he is today, having recently opened his own barbershop, named, fittingly, Sposito, which is where we caught up for this interview, while Mike gave me a trim. He'll get back to the horses someday, but for now you can find him on Greenpoint Ave in Brooklyn, not far from the river. Buzz in, follow the first floor hallway, and look for the neon light.
This is not the same.
Yeah.
And sometimes people just don't want to get that weird.
Yeah.
It's almost why I like taking kids, because kids will you can kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah.
They'll wear the haircuts that adults wish they would wear.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have a lot of dudes that want to look like Rod Stewart.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? So it's I like doing that. But it's you'd think that hipsters would be, into getting down more, but in the end of the day, everybody's looking like it's 1950s again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked for fellow Barber for 7 years. I left them for a period of that time and moved to Italy. Started with them in San Francisco, helped them open that shop, left, moved to Italy for about a year. Then moved to New York 5 years ago this month.
What was happening in Italy?
I had an ex-girlfriend.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I went and cut some hair over there for a little bit, but just took a moment. I've been kind of working since I was 16 and was doing pretty well. When I first had my apartment in San Francisco, rent was 2 weeks' pay, and by the time I left San Francisco, it was a day and a half's pay.
Was that something you always wanted to do?
Barber?
Yeah.
No.
You just fell into it?
Yeah, it was my older sister's a hairdresser, and now I have a younger sister that's a hairdresser. But I had moved to San Francisco with zero school, zero city skills. I was training horses before that. And I had a freak out. I'd spent my whole life riding horses and training them, and went and lived this cowboy lifestyle, and freaked out and realized that I'm not a conservative Christian and there is more to life than, I just wasn't like everybody else that I shared that passion with. And that passion is kind of a lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I also grew up skating and listening to music, and all my friends were living in cities, and just felt like I was kind of missing this other side of my life.
Yeah.
And it dedicated full time to the horses, and sometimes your passions kind of break your heart. I just wanted to have a job where I could just be me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember cruising around San Francisco, looking for a barber, and there was the old man Italian shop, there was the Chinese barber shops, there was the really the Castro gay shops that kind of everything was super military. And I was trying to ask them about barbering, and then all of them were actually really bad mouthing the industry. And this is before the quote unquote renaissance of it all.
Yeah.
And they were telling me how much they were all telling me how much the industry sucked and how there's no money in it, and B, they were kind of they were all fucking up my hair. The haircuts weren't good at all. And I was just kind of well, maybe this industry doesn't suck, maybe you suck,
Yeah.
you know? I kind of was like, well, where's the guy like me? You know, where's just like the mellow dude that can cut hair well and like maybe has a sense of taste and style?
Yeah.
And that's when the light bulb went on.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot to your point about having a profession where you could just be you.
Right.
And having that be the driver of whatever decision you make from there on out, whatever the profession ends up being.
Totally.
Right.
And it wasn't this thing where it's like, I think everybody's like, oh, you're so passionate about it. And I'm like, well, I think I grew to be passionate about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know shit about it. I mean, I like style and
Right.
aesthetic and all that stuff, but there was nothing. I was looking at it from more of like a trade.
Right.
You know, maybe this thing that I would do and for like the time being to make some money and
Right.
figure out the rest of my life, you know?
Yeah. Like choosing a livelihood built around the premise of, as you said, being yourself versus trying to discover some specific passion to then build a career in that passion.
Yeah, at that time I was abandoning my passion. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't want a passion at that point. I was just like, I just want a job that I felt was like, you know, I think the creativity level came later.
Yeah.
You know, as I learned more and got more into it and realized how much I actually did care about it and kind of had always cared about it.
Yeah.
But not from like an idea of being like, oh, I like fashion,
Right.
you
Right.
know, but it was like, I like style and I like, you know,
Yeah.
like rock and roll and I like movies and I like all these kind of weird characters that you'd see. It was like this weird kind of subtleties that you'd see in the detail of like a character actor from a B movie or something like that, or, you know, cyberpunk haircuts from like Repo Man and stuff like that. It was always things that I liked. And I was always trying to like recreate those in high school and,
Yeah.
you know, so it was like, you know, realizing that later on and really trying to kind of learn that. Like, you know, I think like what we were talking about earlier about like homemade haircuts, but I remember being like, oh, I can't wait to like learn how to like cut hair like I see it.
Yeah. And then moving to your own shop is sort of the next level of you being yourself, being totally on your own terms and doing it how you want.
Yeah, it was like steady progression, you know. I kind of went with Fellow and where with my experiences with those guys, I was like, they had kind of taken me in, I would say further than most barbers in the country were ever able to go because there's not a lot of companies of that size. Mm-hmm. You know, I had like management experience and teaching experience and got to travel and so much exposure. I just wasn't quite done learning for a long time.
Right.
And part of me was like, maybe I don't want to own my own shop. Maybe I want to go this like corporate barber route.
Yeah.
Which never really felt like me, you know, but it was kind of, there were some benefits to it for sure. But, you know, that showed that it wasn't totally going to pan out the way I felt like it should have. And, you know, I think in the end I was like denying the inevitable. I think that in the end a lot of people want to get to this in order to like own their own business. I think that being with them was an opportunity to maybe not own my own business.
Yeah.
Because it is nice to just show up to work and leave.
Right. There's a lot of comfort and sort of security that comes from not having your own business.
Yeah.
What have you learned so far from, like, I remember we talked about it once, and you were kind of going through the red tape of just looking for a space, and like what have you learned in the process of making this come to fruition?
I mean, it's like, I think when you start looking, you don't really know what you're looking for. You're like looking for a space, but, you know, you're looking at, you know, price per square footage. Does the money make sense? What kind of business do I want?
Yeah.
You know, is it, you know, do I want like a 8-chair, you know, kind of brand factory? Do I want to, you know, am I competing in New York, like against other shops, or is it a competition at all, or do I want to be able to shut the doors and kind of work on my own schedule? Right. You know, I really wanted something that was like being able to like, I'm in control.
Yeah.
you know, and I'm not like, I can lower my overhead, and, you know, I wanted like an office of sorts,
Yeah.
you know, where it's like I can go on vacation for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, we opened and worked for a month, and then I went to Mexico for 2 weeks. It was just like, you know, not the most responsible thing, but nothing bad happened.
Right.
You know,
You're just
people
calm.
just didn't get haircuts that period of time. And some did and some didn't. But in the end of the day, it's like, not a lot of people get to do that.
Right. You're calling the shots.
I'm calling the shots.
You get to be yourself. You get to make it look like you. I mean, everything down to the aesthetic of the place is all your decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted, you know, and I feel like this place would have probably been, it's great to walk into like this. It's great to walk in like with a maze and kind of come into this like, you know, curve that wall around and.
It's kind of like secret.
Yeah, without having to be like, I don't want it to be exclusive. I just want to make something nice and special.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's more for me than it is for you.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's cool that you can, as a customer, you can come here and it almost feels like I'm coming over to your house. You know, it just feels like we're hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what, I mean, it's kind of, in the end, it's like what a barbershop is.
Right.
You should be able to like come hang out. It should be comfortable for you to bring friends over, and the music should be good. You know, it's not, it should be a comfortable vibe.
Yeah. What about the aesthetic, like inspiration? It's sort of an amalgamation of all your.
Yeah, there's a few things. It's like California, Mexico City, Southern Italy, kind of all those, you know, the Southwest.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like tones in which I grew up in here. You know, my mom is like a total Mexophile, and there's just like aloe plants and poppy colors all over the house. I think like there's definitely all the things I like could be so different in a lot of ways, but they're kind of so similar. You know,
Yeah.
if you look at like parts of Mexico, you look at parts of like New Mexico, parts of California, and then like, you know, Puglia, Italy, all these places like, you know, Naples has cactus everywhere. You know what I mean? So there's like, you get like, basically I was in Mexico City when I was soul searching what was it, a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I had like just stepped down from my management position. I was like, went to Mexico City for a week by myself. Was supposed to meet a friend and he no-showed, which was kind of actually like the thing I wanted.
Yeah.
Was to go by myself.
What were you? What was driving you to do that?
Go to Mexico City?
Or like, what kind of questions were you asking yourself?
I'm just like, what am I doing? Am I like staying in New York? Am I leaving? Am I gonna go rogue and just like freelance and groom on set and abandon like this huge clientele I'd made? Am I gonna move to LA? Am I gonna move to Portland?
Yeah.
But all these things I was kind of asking, I'm like, I'm probably gonna go open up a shop somewhere else anyways. Just like denying the inevitable, you know?
Yeah. What was it about New York that was repelling you? Anything specific?
Just the beast,
Yeah.
you know? It's expensive. And it's like competitive. You know, I'm already like, even like I'm already open and people are like, when's the next one? What are you doing next? If you're not expanding, you're failing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all this shit that like, you're like, fuck. Just like, take it easy. I just got started. Where's your Instagram? You know, it's like all these things like, gotta market yourself. I'm like, do I?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, can't something be sacred for like a second? Can't like you just tell somebody about it? People will like come sit in my chair and they've like, I've never even met them before. And they've made it in here and they're like, how do you plan on branding, or how are you gonna get the word out here? I'm like, well, how did you get here?
Right.
It's like, it worked,
Right.
you know?
And why does it have to be like? Why do you have to do it the way everybody else does it?
It's like, you know, so many people are doing it and it's not even real. You know, it's like these kind of fake, you know, print the label, learn how to make chocolate later. It's like these things that are like, I'm doing this, I'm doing it now, and I know I'm like putting together like a quality service, and I know that my place is cool.
Right.
So it's like, why do I have to, you know, people are gonna find out.
Yeah.
You know, I know you need that stuff, it's free advertising and all that stuff, but it's like, you know, if it's not right, don't do it yet.
Right.
You don't need it to open up the doors. Like we're ahead of the business.
Right, and let the genesis of the quote branding be a result of your service versus the other way around.
Well, I think at this point it's like, yeah, like cool. I've like worked at this other place for a while, but I don't want to tell that story anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, and this story is still writing itself.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's like, I think that that's fair. You know, I don't want to like continue to like talk about the stuff I used to do.
Right.
You know, I think it's a great foundation, and I'm lucky to have had that, but I also earned all that.
Right. Now you're just kind of writing the next chapter.
Yeah. Without like, you know, trying to put as little pressure on myself as possible, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I think that doing my taxes properly is more important than doing my Instagram, you know? It's like, at this point.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I'm trying to learn how to do. This is like kind of the you know, there's a lot of people that are really good at stuff, but they're bad businessmen or business persons.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'd like to be able to do both.
Right.
You know, and it's like I can still deliver like a quality product, like not have to be stuck like managing somebody, and at the same time I have enough time that I can put time aside and learn how to run a business.
Right. And have other parts of your life you can take care of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I want to like have my life be as normal as possible within like as soon as possible.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
what does that look like, ideally?
I mean, exercising, taking vacations, going home, riding horses, you know, work to live, not live to work,
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
you know?
So you want to get back to the horses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you talk a little bit more about I know you just said you don't want to talk about what you used to do, but
Well, I'm trying to still do that.
yeah. Well, you told me a little bit about it, but I haven't heard the full story of like how you got into it and then what that lifestyle was like.
I mean, I grew up in it. So, like, I grew up on, like, a, you know, horse farm. It's like an equestrian facility, basically.
Is that what your parents did? Was it their work?
Yeah, my stepdad trains horses. My mom basically ran the farm. But she got us all into riding when we were all really young.
And where is this?
This is in Gilroy, California. Garlic capital of the world.
Where is it, though? Where on the map?
It's Central Coast, California.
Okay.
It's like where Silicon Valley meets Salinas Valley. So, as I like to say, Steinbeck country.
Nice. So it's in your blood.
Yeah.
You knew
my cousins train horses, like.
You knew it before you knew anything else.
Yeah, it's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
You know, I like music and I like horses. You know, but I didn't really necessarily like the things I liked didn't necessarily like meet in the middle. If that makes sense. You know, it was politically we were always on an opposite side of the fence as the people that we like shared that life with.
Huh.
We love the horses, not necessarily like the lifestyle that comes with it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think like my folks had kind of lived their lives and done everything they wanted to, and it come full circle back to this, you know, like I went to art school and kind of had abandoned it for a while and then came back to horses and realized that that's where she wanted to be. I think it was like I'm kind of doing my similar sense, like kind of figuring out life for myself. And I think in some parts it's taking me further away from the thing I want to get to, but it's cost me to like, it's, you know, living an adventure too.
Yeah.
You know?
And kind of fun knowing that there's something on the other side of the fence that you're excited about getting back to.
Yeah, I think it's the driving force.
Yeah.
You know, and I kind of fear that at one point I'll get back to it and I'll be like, shit, I don't even want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case, but
Yeah.
but there is that thing where it is like I think a lot of people have these things where they just work, you know, they work and they spend money, they work and they spend money, they party, they do all these things, they go to brunch. But there's like, they don't really know what they like or what they love or have these things that kind of that's my passion. You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah.
thing I want to get back to for me.
Didn't you compete in rodeo competitions or like roping?
Yeah, like high school rodeo and roping and stuff, and did like some of they're like the United States team roping circuit. But what I mainly did was this thing called National Rank Cow Horse. There's a difference of like, there's a cowboy, and then there's a horseman.
Yeah.
And the horseman is like always the thing that I always that's the thing I valued. Someone knowing horses and someone training horses and like something that had more longevity.
Yeah.
Something that lasts longer than 8 seconds. You know?
Yeah.
The cowboy's kind of a brute.
Yeah. What did you learn from that, like from growing up around that world?
Patience. Hard work. It's like, I actually always used to apply. I think if you like met me in my early days in San Francisco, I thought everything was like training horses. I was like, it's just like training horses, you know? I think people got really sick of me. It's like, no, it's actually not.
Nobody can relate to that.
Nobody can relate to that. But no, I learned that, you know, you don't, it's a project, you know? These things would take like years to train the best horse. It would take like 6 years, you know? And it's consistency and finesse and feel and all these things, you know? It's kind of, and there is no like standardized operation because every horse is different. You can't just like ride everyone the same way. I mean, people try, but you're not left with a lot of horse in the end of it. They're not robots, you know, and they don't speak English, you know. It's these things that you it's all based off of feel.
I mean, that has got to apply to starting a business too. And like, you're doing something today, you're thinking about something today that you can execute tomorrow. Was what you did before you opened this place, right?
Totally. I mean, I used to tell when I used to manage barbers at the other place, it would be, people would always brag about how many haircuts I did in one day. I'm like, yeah, you did 18 today, but you did 3 on Tuesday. You know, I do 12 every single day. And it's just like you have to work hard every single time. It's not about how much money you made today if you're not making any money tomorrow. You know?
It's like getting the reps in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like, you should always be doing good work. And then you'll never go hungry. But it's always like, what are you gonna do? It's like, yeah, you're making a bunch of money in the summer, but what are you gonna do in the winter?
Yeah.
You know? It's like, you always gotta try hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have off days, but, you know, we are human. You know?
Yeah. What are some of the harder parts about, like, was there anything that you're afraid of starting off on your own, or like?
I think me.
Yeah.
You know?
Like trusting yourself to.
Yeah, just like, I've always been bad at homework. You know? Now I have nothing but homework, but now it's a little bit more transparent as to what that homework is. You know?
Yeah.
I've been kind of spending the last like so many years trying to get good at homework, you know? Whether it be like working out, like having like little challenges that I set. I think I've kind of been preparing myself and going backwards and resetting a foundation and getting rid of bad habits and making new habits, like good habits.
Yeah. And good habits begetting more good habits.
Exactly. It's like changing your taste buds and all around. I still, you know, we all have our vices, and I still struggle here and there, like trying to like keep myself back on track. Last year was a struggle, you know, just being like knowing that like being at some place I didn't want to be anymore, trying to look at, you know, having the stress of looking for a space.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
What made you finally jump?
I just finally found the space, you know.
Yeah.
I looked at it a lot, but there were times, you know, I was getting beat out by other people, you know. People were just, it's competitive. You find a space and it's gone. You have to be ready to jump.
Yeah.
But I think you just didn't know. Finally, I just was like, this is the one.
Yeah.
It's time. You know, if you're not gonna, you know, I remember talking to a friend, Ricky, you know, and he's just like, whatever, buy the ticket, take the ride, you know, and it's like, it's true.
Yeah.
You can kind of spend your time like prepping for so long and talking about it and hashing it out, but at the end of the day, you're never going to know till you try it.
Yep.
There's like, it doesn't come with like this like, same deal, it doesn't really come with a book.
Right.
I mean, you can read all the books you want about it, but it doesn't always translate.
Right.
There's not a lot of like books about like how to open your own secret barbershop. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
for dummies.
And then sometimes thinking about it is harder than doing it. Like you can talk yourself out of taking a risk.
Oh, anything.
Yeah.
You know, the mind is a powerful thing.
This place is cool though.
Thank you.
I like what you've done with it.
Thank you.
I've never been to a barbershop like it, that's for sure.
Yeah, you know, gotta stand out a little bit. It was easy though in a lot of ways. You're kind of like, you look at a trend and you're kind of like, well, let's just do the opposite of that trend. It's like no dark wood. Let's soften everything up a little bit. Let's like kind of not make it so masculine.
Yeah.
Let's paint that door pink, you know? It's just like, let's have a little bit of fun with it. It's just like things have gotten so serious. It's like comical with the barbershop aesthetics. I was also kind of like, why do we gotta like pay homage to like the past so much? You know what I mean? It's like, obviously there's taste of the past in here, but I like wanted to have everything made new and fresh. Like I didn't want, you know, it's like I do this now, not in the 1950s or 40s or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't have a handlebar mustache. I got kind of like so sick of that. It's definitely gotten to the point where it's like become a little bit played out on the old school trend. I kind of just felt like it was like becoming this like novelty, or it had become this novelty, which I just didn't want to be associated with that anymore.
Yeah. You think if you were to go back to, or when you do go back to horsing, that you'll still cut hair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got this like dream of this like all glass barbershop with a one chair in the middle of like a desert. And it's like in the middle of my horse pasture.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's your salvation.
And you'll just see it. It'll be like a dirt road, you know, off the main road, and you'll just see the barber pole spinning, and that's when you know I'm working. I'll probably just like get off a horse and come off, like cut your hair, and then get back on. It's my lonesome dove barbershop.
Yeah. What's the timeline on that? Travel.
Not
travel.
soon enough, yeah.
So far, so good though, as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so far so good. I think it's been, yeah. I'm liking it. It's like as if the other parts didn't even exist, you know? It's kind of like, I feel like I've been here for a while.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is a good sign.
Yeah. Harder or easier than you thought, or different, or?
Just different. I mean, I don't know. It's harder in some ways, but that's to be expected.
Yeah.
I'm glad I waited in the end. Because in the end, it's like I feel like I've picked the right space for me. I picked the right vibe.
Yeah.
You know, I think in all that time when I was watching friends like go off and do their things, I think my tastes were still developing and like what I wanted out of it. And in the end, it's like I have all the great clients. I have all these things that are like kind of was like, no, now's the time.
Yeah.
People are always kind of like, you know, it's about time. And I'm like, no, it's the perfect time.
Yeah.
You know, it's just really, you know, sometimes it's good to wait.
Yeah.
You know?
Patience.
Patience. Exactly. No mistake.
Yeah. You didn't force it.
No.
Trusted yourself.
No, it's definitely, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Timing is everything. In a lot of ways.